This week on CultureQ,
Drag Race's Kimchi makes makeup history.
we sit down with queer documentarian Caroline Burler.
And Leah Thomas wins huge at the NCAA Championships.
What is going on? It is Annie Lawani here.
And I'm Hannah Rad filling in for Sherry Lazar. This is CultureQ.
And here's some of the highlights from this week in queer culture. The girls from RuPaul's Drag Race just can't stop making headlines, and this week is no exception, with Drag Race royalty Kimchi taking her makeup brand to new heights. Known for her run on season 8 of RuPaul's Drag Race and her sickening online makeup tutorials, the drag icon launched her own personal brand, Kimchi Chic, back in 2019.
And today I'm here to talk to you about my new makeup line, Kimchi Chic Beauty. It's been a long time dream of mine to launch my own makeup company, and it finally happened.
The brand has received a lot of praise from fans and beauty bloggers, and as of this week, you'll be seeing a lot more of it because it just launched in CVS stores all across the US. The Queen tweeted the news in an emotional post, celebrating this amazing milestone, saying, "Crying tears of joy, I couldn't possibly imagine we'd grow this big. Didn't think you'd ever see a POC queer brand at CVS, did ya?" And that's what makes this news so exciting. Having a brand like this become so accessible to people is a huge step forward for queer and POC visibility and representation, which has always been at the heart of Kimchi's mission.
I feel like representation for us is definitely important. I'm very proud to be the first Korean drag queen to go on national television and share my story.
And the fans, well, they're absolutely here for it. One Twitter user writes, "Trust and believe that if Kimchi makeup makes it to my local CVS that I will blow a whole paycheck to try one of everything." And she's also received an outpouring of congratulations from fellow Ru girls like Bianca Del Rio, Latrice Royale, and Willem, who said they need to lock it up with razors and gel tips. The launch is so popular that some stores are already selling out, so she had to stop by to magically restock the shelves. Work. To find a CVS store near you that carries the brand, you can head to kimchichicbeauty.com, use the store locator, and be a part of this history-making moment.
Disney continues to find itself in hot water surrounding the highly controversial Don't Say Gay bill in Florida, having financially supported many of the bill's key sponsors, and now they're struggling to find a resolution. The media giant has tried various tactics to save face during this PR nightmare, but many are saying their lip service just isn't enough, including the star of the Disney Plus remake of Cheaper by the Dozen, Gabrielle Union. When asked at the premiere of the film if she was disappointed by the news, Union, who was the proud mother of trans daughter Zaya, told Variety, "I'm disappointed when my order isn't right at In-N-Out. I don't even think that's a word that you could use for something like this, where children's lives are literally hanging in the balance." Union continued on,
"You need to actually put your money where your mouth is. And you can't stand against hate and oppression and fund hate and oppression. That doesn't work."
The company's reluctance to come out against the bill has also led to a series of company walkouts. Organizing under the name Disney Do Better, LGBTQ employees are urging the higher-ups to take action, including indefinitely ending all donations to lawmakers who have supported the bill. In an open letter, the employees wrote that Disney leadership, quote, "have made it clear that they are more than willing to sacrifice their employees' health and wellness in service of the bottom line. We will not stand for this anymore." They've even demanded that Disney pause all investment in construction in the state of Florida, where it employs over 77,000 people, until that legislation is repealed. Another open letter from Pixar employees has also been shared, stating that Disney effectively cut nearly every moment of overtly gay affection from their films. Now, this call-out prompted the company to announce a same-sex kiss had actually been added back into their upcoming film, Lightyear, where Uzo Aduba's character Hawthorne is in a lesbian relationship. Now, listen, the reaction to this news has ranged all across the board. We got heart eye emojis, eye rolls, myself included. This Twitter user even has a cheeky response saying, "A same-sex kiss in the background isn't cutting it anymore. Make Buzz Lightyear attend a Charlie XCX concert and do some poppers." But all jokes aside, we are ready for real representation in films like these. And while nods to queerness like this moment in Pixar's newest film, Turning Red, are appreciated, it's time for Disney to stop dancing around the subject and provide real representation in a meaningful way. In addition, put your money where your mouth is.
This week, Shira got the chance to sit down with award-winning documentary filmmaker Caroline Burler to talk about Women's History Month and making history herself with the film Dykes Camera Action.
My thesis film is called Dykes Camera Action. I chronicled the history of queer cinema, focused on the women.
When people ask me about my films, I've often talked about making films as a way of confronting fear. I always felt like, you know, I need to talk about the things that I know about that I haven't quite heard being spoken about.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We so appreciate it during Women's History Month.
It's great to be here. I'm glad to celebrate women all days, but especially today.
Yes. So let's get into your documentary, Dykes Camera Action. It's about lesbian visibility. It really gets to the point there. Tell us about it.
Yes, so this project is very near and dear to my heart. I made it when I was actually in film school, and this was my thesis project. So it's been a few years now, but still really proud of the work. And I made it because I was inspired to celebrate these very important women directors who made these films that reached me during my adolescence and the suburbs of Texas, where I knew no gay people and had no role models. So they were the only thing I had, my only connection to gay culture, really. And it was how I first came into my identity. Those are very early days, first inklings of who I might become later. I was very scared, but these films made me feel a little safer in this world.
And so I guess, how did this documentary change you and your perception of yourself and what was possible?
Yeah, I think when art's at its best, it is therapy. And I think this film allowed me to work through a lot of my own questions and anxieties and shame and, you know, and sort of come out the other end a little more confident with a little more knowledge of these important people that's part of my history. And I feel an obligation to spread the word about them and make them become household names if it's possible, because they deserve it.
So how now are you using your platform as a queer filmmaker to help others?
So I would be nowhere without my friends, my collaborators, and I'm happy to talk about a film today by one of my dear friends, Sandra Itainen, who is a filmmaker from Finland, and we went to film school together. And she actually started, this was also her thesis film that she was working on during the program. And it's about a queer Muslim activist named Iman, and it's about her relationship with her mother. And it's really important, I think, especially for the queer Muslim community, to see these films because there are so few. So this is a really important one coming out, and I hope people can check out their Seed and Spark and hopefully help them raise the finishing funds to get this film out there.
So tell me about the importance of this film as a piece of queer media.
This film was sort of self-referential in a way, because I was making this film about other queer films, but it is a queer film itself. And, you know, to get it out there and have it reach so many people was everything to me. And we had a great festival run. We've had this great relationship with Frameline, and now with Revry. I just love meeting people who connect with the film. I love hearing the reactions, the laughter in the audience when it's screened, and yes, it's super, super exciting.
Thanks again to Caroline Burler for joining us this week. And remember, you can stream her award-winning documentary, Dykes Camera Action, right here on Revry.
All right, now it's time for us to take a look at all the LGBTQ news that's happening across the U.S. We're starting with data compiled from all the anti-LGBTQ bills that have been filed just this year. According to the report from the ACLU and LGBTQ advocacy group, Freedom for All Americans, there have been a total of 238 anti-LGBTQ bills filed in 2022 alone, most of them targeting rights. Now, for a little bit of context, last year, 2021, there were a total of 191 anti-LGBTQ bills filed, and that number has been surpassed in just the first 2.5 months of this year, with an average of more than 3 new bills per day. Now, while this news is frustrating and concerning to say the least, it also comes at a time when Americans are more supportive of anti-discrimination policies for queer people than ever, with 79% in favor of LGBTQ protections. And one of the most recent cases of queer rights being protected came at the hands of an extremely unlikely group, Republicans. A proposed bill in Idaho that would have criminalized both parents and doctors for giving trans children gender-affirming health care with penalties as severe as life in prison was thankfully struck down this week. And though the state's Republican senators played a big hand in shutting down the bill, let's not be too quick to sing their praises. No cookies for the bare minimum. They made it clear they strongly oppose gender-affirming health care for trans youth, and even released a statement saying, "We believe best decisions regarding medical treatment options for children are made by parents. with the benefit of their physician's advice and expertise. Now, honestly, at this point, we gonna take it. And we hope that all the other Republicans out there are watching. I see y'all. Take some notes. Moving on to the world of sports, college swimmer Lia Thomas became the first ever trans woman to win the NCAA swimming championship last week, finishing first in the women's 500-yard freestyle. Over the past few months, Thomas has found herself at the center of a national debate surrounding trans women's participation in sports, with the right-wing media attacking her daily. But she has just as many people supporting her, like the National Women's Law Center, who tweeted, "Lia, we need people like you, not only as a swimmer, but to inspire women athletes, cis and trans, everywhere." And that's your look at what's going on in the news here across the US.
Here's the thing, I know you don't like making decisions, and either do I, so that's why I'm here to help you, as always, with your weekly Revry Streaming Guide. First up, and just in time for Oscar season, is For Your Consideration, a 2019 documentary short about two street artists that created a viral Harvey Weinstein statue that shook up the 90th Academy Awards. Up next is Who Took the Bump? Le Tigre on Tour. Following the iconic feminist band Le Tigre on their 2004 to 2005 international tour, the documentary watches them confront sexism and homophobia in the music industry, and is the perfect watch to celebrate Women's History Month. And if you're looking to escape what's going on in our world, check out the fantasy thriller Jade of Death. This 6-part dark comedy web series centers on a young woman with the supernatural ability hearing when and how people are gonna die. Awarded Best Drama Series by OutWebFest, Jade of Death will keep you on the edge of your seat. Remember, you can find all these amazing titles and so much more streaming right here, right now on Revry.
Now we're getting towards the end of our show, which means it's time for some CultureQ Inspiration. This week we're highlighting the queer Buddhist monk who is changing minds and challenging people's perspectives.
Hello, my name is Koro Nishimura. I am a Buddhist monk, a makeup artist, and also an LGBTQ activist.
Nishimura, who you might recognize from Queer Eyewear in Japan, recently hosted a series of events covering everything from makeup tips to a talk about his recently translated book, This Monk Wears Heels. The book is part self-help guide and part autobiography, chronicling his journey to self-acceptance and diving into the complexity of identity through the lens of opposing cultures. Through the release of his book and recent events, Nishimura aims to give the Western world a bit of a shake-up, saying, "I really hope that I can give perspectives from another part of the world, because I feel that the more stories you hear from around the world about empowerment are going to help." I'm not wearing heels now, but there are going to be some heels in my Kindle. I'm buying the book, This Monk Wears Heels. It's out now.
Honestly love hearing that story, and that monk wears heels better than me or anybody else. With that, it's Andy signing off.
And I'm Hannah Rad. Thanks for tuning in to This Week on CultureQ.
Be sure to join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, live and always on demand, right here on Revry.